Parents, have any of you regretted the names you've given your children? Story 1. My ex and I had a great marriage, until it fell apart 14 years in. Up to that point, the worst thing we ever fought about was baby names and paint colors. She wanted our first to be Zebulon Zachariah. Not even kidding. We fought and fought about it. She was dead serious, and I was completely baffled as to how she thought that was a good idea. I finally talked her into a more sane first name and conceded Zachary as a middle name. Second child, she wanted D'Artagnan. Little Dart, she would say. Oh, heck no. We fought over this one while she was in labor on the way to the hospital. She wasn't giving up. I won that one too with something not common, but sane at least. Third child, she was back on the D'Artagnan train. Fought for 9 solid months. Thank God that one was a girl. Story 2. Naming your kids is tough. First, you have to run it through the people you hate filter. We hate a lot of people. Second, you want to be hip, but not too hip. They could do without another Ansley. Rose is an up-and-comer too. Third, you have to run it through the playground filter. Asher, Ash Hole. Plus, I'm a teacher. There are a lot of names I can't use because... Oscar? I remember Oscar. Screw, man, I can't name my kid Oscar. So we settled on William and Jillian. Willie and Jilly. Wait, frick, man, how dumb is this? Kids' names that rhyme? We seriously didn't figure this out until such a random person was all, "Aw, how precious." Story 3. I used to work in tech support with a guy whose name was Gandalf. In the 70s, when he was born, Tolkien wasn't even a nerd thing. It was a hippie thing. His parents were big hippies and loved the books, so they named him Gandalf. His sister's middle name is Galadriel. He said at first people rarely recognized the name. It was a weird name, sure, but few people knew he was named after a fictional wizard. Until the movies came out. He hates Peter Jackson. You know, Galadriel is really a pretty name. I like it. Gandalf is pretty out there. He should have changed his name to Mithrandir. Story 4. My first name is just a letter. It gets better. I have an identical twin brother, and his first name is also a letter. We each have normal middle names, but letters as first names. It's because my dad thought it looked elegant, and not typical letters. I'm talking about 3 of the last letters. Thanks, Dad. Filling out any sort of paperwork for dang near everything is a pain in the butt. I know I can change my name, but I don't want to go through that hassle when I'm already used to the crappy name I was given. To answer OP's question, my dad doesn't regret it, but my mom wishes he would have waited until after the epidural wore off from her C-section to name us. Please become a professor. Professor X. Story 5. Yeah, so this is a throwaway, and my son's first and last names are too. It's the middle name that's messed up. I wanted something simple, strong, and easy to remember. Robert Smith. Straight to the point. When the nurse, or whoever she was, came to my bed in the hospital to record the name, that's what I told her. She asked what the middle name was. I told her, no middle name. A couple of weeks later, when the record of birth arrived, it read, Robert, no middle name, Smith. Freaking humans. How do we even survive? Dude, that's proud. Your son's name is a testament to human incompetence, inefficiency, and the debilitating effects of sleep deprivation. Story 6. Well, my mother doesn't regret naming me Shaw. Doesn't seem so bad because it's a fair family name, but as my first name, it causes great confusion. For example, if I introduce myself to someone, I have to clarify that my name isn't actually Sean, or Sure. Then, of course, the conversation goes as follows. Yeah, it's spelled S-H-A-W, and they say, are you sure? Which sounds exactly like, are you Shaw in my regional accent, suckers. Story 7. I went to a summer camp with a guy called Raymond. Seriously. Naturally, first name Raymond, second name Raymond. We gave him a check for it. Me. So, were your parents drunk or something? Raymond squared. I was named after a very well-respected relative, actually. Me. So, were his parents drunk? He didn't talk to me much after that. Story 8. My mother and stepfather picked out and agreed upon a name for my little sister while my mom was pregnant. Her middle name was supposed to be Kate. Stepman never said anything about it. He liked it and was fine with it. Baby gets born, the birth certificate is being written out. Mom's exhausted, so she lets the baby's dad deal with it. A few weeks later, Mom takes a look at the new Social Security card and birth certificate and flips her crap because the middle name on all the paperwork is Lee, even though that name had never come up in discussion. She didn't even know until she stumbled across it by accident, quite a bit too late. Story 9. I work in a social services agency that deals with children. The names I've seen are quite amazing. Along with random variations of names and brands of alcohol, you get some interesting biblical ones too, like the 3 kids in one family named Meshach, Shadrach, and Abednego. That one that I cringed at the most, though, was this poor little girl named Erotica. They're not even giving her a chance. This is the first one that's actually made me sad. There aren't even any ambiguous contractions of Erotica. She'll probably just go with E, or change her name. Story 10. Not me, but my parents named me Will Smith. I used to think it was just a coincidence, until I looked up the date that Fresh Prince of Bel-Air started, and it was before I was born. My brother is called James Smith. This is LL Cool J's real name. My parents are both white and middle class, but I think they are secret rap fans. Tupac Smith is coming. Story 11. Oh, and consider your initials carefully. My surname begins with a W. My brother had a daughter and named her Jennifer Elizabeth. Pretty vanilla, huh? They got a crap ton of blankets and cups with Jew engraved on each piece. We aren't Jewish. My husband and I were discussing hypothetical names. We have no kids yet. Our last name begins with S. He wanted to use the name Amanda Sophia. I pointed out that giving our kid the initials Butt was a bit cruel. Story 12. I work at a clinic with prenatal moms. Once a baby is born, I help make sure they're coming in for appointments. I can't tell you the feelings I felt trying to schedule an appointment for Brenpon, the newborn. Feel your pain. I work at an OBGYN. The 2 tests I have for names are the backdoor test. Do a test run of opening the back door and yelling all 3 names for your kid to haul butt inside, and the president test. Announce, introducing the next president of the United States, full name. Pour tequila tequila. Story 13. My friend and her brother are from Taiwan. When they moved to Australia, they were young and their father chose Western-sounding names for them. My friend ended up with a relatively normal, if old-fashioned name, but he got her brother's name from a thesaurus. His name is Roget. Recent immigrants pick the weirdest names. I know an old Burmese man who speaks almost zero English who picked out Ty Romano. Romano just seems like such a specifically Italian name to me. Story 14. My friend's parents met during the 60s, and they were and are crazy hippies, and they have practiced a lot of different religions. When my friend was born, they decided to give him 14 middle names: Dorsey, Abdul, Jaleel, Francis, Brian, Albert, Barney, Willie, Kowalski, Jeffrey, Faith, Love, Star, Breeze. He has a common first and last name. They said all of that at graduation. That's a lot of runway for an angry parent to build up steam on. Story 15. My parents are hippies that grew up in the 70s. Thankfully, I got away with a reasonable name, Jem. I've seen Jem and the holograms. My 2 younger brothers are named Conan and Toralds. Our parents have never expressed regret over any of our names, though. What the actual frick? I've literally never known any real person other than myself named Jem. I feel slightly less unique now. Story 16. As a man named Matt, I will never name my son, if I have one, Matt, or any other name with any sort of biblical reference, because there are so many people. People just started calling me by my last name throughout school because we all got tired of calling out Matt and having at a minimum 3 people answer. If they wanted an M name, they should have gone with Marcus or something. I don't know anyone named Mark. Story 17. 12 years ago, we had twin boys. We knew one would be Thomas after my wife's uncle, but struggled to name the second. For about 28 hours, he was Baby B. Then we finally settled on Jeremiah. 2 days later, we introduced them to our pastor, and he said, "Oh, cute, Tom and Jerry." I looked at my wife, and we were both thinking, oh, we did not just do that. But we left it. Story 18. My husband and I had a deal. If it was a girl, I got to pick, and if it was a boy, he did. Our son's name is Loki. I'm not a big fan, but he loves it. I keep hoping it will grow on me. I have 2 cats, one named Freya and one named Loki. A year after naming them, my girlfriend said she only let me name them after Norse gods, so I wouldn't be able to use those names for our kids. Story 19. I knew a kid back in college whose parents had named Richard Wang. The parents were from China and wanted to give him an American first name, but have him keep the family last name. Unfortunately, they didn't know that Dick is an acceptable nickname for Richard. So yeah, he's been called Dick Wang ever since he was in elementary school. Story 20. My best friend named her firstborn son Jaden. When she told me the name, I asked her if she really wanted to do that. She said yes, that she and her husband liked the name, but wanted to make it a little different by adding an additional N. She now regrets it. The fact that she regrets it shouldn't bring me joy, but it does. Good luck on those biz cards, little guy. Story 21. I think my mother regrets my name. She wanted to name me Sebastian, but my grandmother said she'd call me Sebastard. She caved and named me Joshua. I heard the story all my life, so when I had my first son, we named him Sebastian. I've never seen my mother so happy. My grandmother calls my son by his middle name. Should have named him Sebastian. Story 22. Had a high school teacher whose name was Ms. Splat. Oh, that's not so bad, you might think, but she had a wine-stained birthmark on one side of her face. Kids can be cruel. I also wondered why she decided upon teaching butthole teenagers as a career choice. Also, she was mean as heck. Story 23. The year is 2014. On a crowded playground, a mother's fear is realized. She cannot find her son. In desperation, she calls out his name. Mason! Mason! The mother puts her head in her hands and laments the choices she's made, as 81 tiny voices respond, Mommy? Story 24. I knew a girl in high school named Cassiopeia. People called her Cass for short. I got why she was named that. Her dad was an astronomer by profession. I knew a girl in high school named Cassiopeia. She named her son Orion. I thought it was cute. Story 25. My wife regrets my kid's initials, FCK, but I think his pickup line choices could be hilarious. My initials are FCK. All I need is you. When he turns 16, you better make him aware of that line. Best wingman ever. Story 26. My parents named me Jorian Edward, and my last name is Borst. So all of my letters are sent to J.E. Borst, which is Dutch for your tit breast. Fun fact, my brother's name is D.E. Borst, the tit breast. Story 27. I went to high school with a girl whose parents defended her name whenever questions of it came up. She didn't mind the name either, though. She was April, May, June, but we called her Spring. Story 28. Not me, but my stepfather's last name is Peace. His son's middle name is Warren, which he told his first wife was a family name. Not sure if that's true. Warren Peace. He finds it quite funny, and my stepbrother is a journalist, so it kinda works. Story 29. As a Todd, I hope my parents do. In the womb, I had cool-sounding names like embryo, fetus, zygote. Now I'm just Todd. Hi, zygote. Please gamete you. Story 30. I once knew a guy in high school whose last name was Sweat, and the poor bastard's parents made his first name Richard. That's right, Richard Sweat. I met Richard Head once. Story 31. Yeah, my kid is named Chad. I love how this requires no explanation. I knew Chad in middle school. Everyone was just like, heh, Chad. Story 32. My legal name was Carne Asada Jones. I had it changed at 18. But then you could have gone by the nickname Steak Jones. That would be so badass. Story 33. My dad's dad didn't know how to spell the name his wife and he had agreed on, so my dad's officially called Philippus. His wife certainly regretted letting him do that on his own. Story 34. My middle name is My Love. It's not my first name, but it still stuns people when I first tell them. Story 35. My dad was going to name me Anakin, my brother Dexter, and my other brother Axel. Let's just say that my mom wasn't having it. I would never have forgiven him. Story 36. My first real name is Thorin, as in Oakenshield. It's amazing for meeting people because I immediately know exactly who the nerds are, my kind of people. Story 37. A friend's middle name is Baldric. His parents thought it would be funny after watching too much Blackadder. Story 38. My actual first name is Jeff. People think I'm from New Zealand and I'm saying Jeff. Thanks, Mom and Dad. Story 39. My ex-wife's brother named his daughter Khaleesi, so I'm going to go ahead and say yes on his behalf. Story 40. To the parents of two little girls that live near us named Crosby and Greer, please respond. Story 41. There's a kid at my old school called Internet Castle. This is not a joke. Internet Castle. Story 42. I grew up with a guy named Manly. It worked though because the dude was huge. Click on one of the videos you see on the screen now, or a Karen will sue you.